Hi guys, Ron here again. In this video, I'll walk you through my complete rebuild on a Rochester B type 1 barrel carburetor. Um, so let me walk you through what I did. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but the problem with this old carb is it was leaking fuel from between the air horn and the float bowl. Also, you may remember if you saw my video when I had backfiring through the carb going on, that I discovered a crack on the air horn on my old carb, which I fixed with JB Weld, and that kind of did the trick. But I was looking forward to changing that out and maybe replacing the air horn and upgrading the situation some. So somewhere along the line, I found this used air horn, which looked to be in really good shape. And I thought, well, since I had to use that JB Weld to fill the crack on the old one, let me just change the air horn. This one looks nice and clean, and everything should be wonderful. Turned out not to be the case, and I'll show you why here in a second. So here you can see on my old carb, some of the groove is left on the float bowl side, on this side anyways. On this side, it's kind of almost all gone. And then if you look at the air horn, there's no ridge at all. It's completely flat. Looks like someone might have tried to file it down to get rid of some warping, but here, clearly a little bit screwed up. Not the way it should be. And then even on this other air horn I was telling you about, ridge is all gone. There you can see a little bit of the ridge left, 2 ridges left over there, and pretty much gone on this side. So yeah, that's why we're having leaking on the old one. So I bought another complete used Rochester B carburetor on eBay. This one seemed to be in pretty good shape. It even still had the tag on it, which is pretty unusual, and decided to work on that one. So this carburetor came off in 1966, and I think that might be the last year that the C10 used the B type carburetor, and then 67 on, I think they used the M, which had the float bowl on the side. In any case, this last one, you can see he's got this little ridge going around the periphery, and that helps to compress the gasket and provide a better seal. I showed you the ridge on the bottom section of float, but there's also double ridges on the air horn. So the ridge on the bottom piece, the float, fits between the 2 ridges on the air horn and should make for a really nice seal. I'm expecting that there won't be any leaks once we get this all put back together. So I think you can see that even though this 1966 used carb I got looked pretty decent on the outside, it was pretty filthy and grungy on the inside. Hopefully we're going to be able to clean it up. We're going to use this Berryman's carburetor drip, or dip, not drip, and hopefully we'll be able to get all that stuff out. The other thing is the spring on the up was deformed. I really had to get to it in order to fix it, so I ground down the tab here, the expanded brass on the outside, and when it was all done, I got my torch out with the smallest tip I had, and just a little brazing to basically put an end cap on the brass shaft, and that's going to work good. So yeah, it works good now. All nice and smooth moving. One of the things I liked about this old carb is all the threads are in really good shape. So you can say here's a air horn that I got off a used carburetor. It looks so much nice and cleaner, but you can see the threads in here, it's already got a helicoil in there, and the same was with the base. So even though this one looks cleaner, I think this one is actually in much better shape. You can see on the base too, the threads are all in pretty good shape, and you know, no helicoils required, just good original threads, which gives me optimism this thing's going to work out okay. We got things cleaned up fairly good here, a lot better than it was. And yeah, this side is also pretty clean. You know, it says you shouldn't put the aluminum in the Berryman's chem drip for more than 4 hours, and that's what I did, and this is as clean as I got it in that 4 hours. I suppose you could probably go a little longer without doing any damage, but this is also pretty clean, and the little discoloration is just cosmetic. I'm not going to worry about it. So one thing you should check before putting it back together is the idle vent. An idle should have between 3/64 and a 1/16 inch gap. It's a little air in during idle, and before you put it together, you just hold the bottom of the screw here and play with it to see if there's any play. If you turn it clockwise, it basically tighten down. You can feel it snug up. And then if you just come back, maybe 3/4 of a turn, half to 3/4 of a turn, you'll see there's that just tiny little gap, and that's what you're looking for. And yeah, that should be a good place to start. All right, time to start putting the air horn back together. By the way, I got the rebuild kit and all the extra parts from Mike's Carburetor. They have pretty much everything you need. Start by putting a gasket down, the correct gasket. It allows the hole there, lines up properly, and this actually goes underneath this little tower. So the gasket has to go on first. And we'll make sure our little power piston nice and smooth in there. The spring fits in there and goes down, and you can see it moves very nice and easy. And this little plunger moves up into a little ball that sits in here. So we put the ball in. This is the smallest of the balls that comes in the kit. A tiny spring. And just lightly screw this back in. And this, see the ball there, and the standpipe here goes in this hole here, and that little plunger rests against the ball. And it all lines up nice. Screw goes in here, There's a little notch here which it fits in, which keeps it from rotating. Nice and snug. Again, we'll check the play, and I think you can see that lines up perfectly with the little ball. We'll just snug down the cap and the main jet. And 57 is the correct number for at least for my C10 for the straight 6. It's in there nice and snug. Next we'll put in the seat. The float valve with a new washer. Make sure you got a nice big fat screwdriver or something that spans the seat so you get both sides, otherwise you won't be able to screw it in properly. So nice and snug. Then the valve goes into the seat. Then we have our float. And you may have to put this in and out a couple times because now we have to adjust it. And that's all in there. Now we take our little ruler that came along with the kit and down with the gasket in place. It should be at 1 and 9/32. This one is at 1 and 12. It's a little bit high. So I have to take it back out. And this little tab here will have to push it in a little bit so that it drops down. So we'll just take that and push it in a little bit. See if we got it right or overshot it. We'll find out in a second. Back in, measure again. That looks just about right. 1 notch above the 8. Check on this side. Yep, 1 notch in that. Now check the drop. It should be 1 3/4. So that's 1 and 24/32. We'll measure. Looks a little bit high, doesn't it? Looks like it's 1 and 28. So we'll have to make an adjustment. We don't want it to drop quite as much. So that's this tab here. We'll move it in just a little bit. Wrong side, that's the metric side. There we go. 1 and 24 looks like just about right, doesn't it? Yep. Let's check the other side. Should be the same. And 1 and 24. With the gasket in place. So that should be good. And all that monkeying around, better check the position again here. We're still at 1 and 9. And 1 and 9/32. Perfect. That should be it. And there we go. Air horn's ready to reassemble. Unfortunately, one thing that's clear is we've got too much play in this throttle shaft. Absolute maximum is like 1/32, and this is clear. Probably more like a 1/16. So the way it's solved is you take the throttle shaft off and put in brass bushings, ream out the hole, put in brass bushings so you get a nice tight fit. And I guess that's what we're going to have to do. All right, we marked the valve in the body, the marker, so we'll be able to put it back in exactly the way it came out. And yeah, there we go. So the throttle shaft measures 0.306, and a 5/16 shaft is 0.3125. So the shaft is worn a little bit. Actually, the hole measured 0.317 inches, and that makes the difference between the shaft at 306 and the hole at 317 only 11 thousandths, which is less than the 1/32 allowed. So the play is not as bad as I thought it was. So I don't know, maybe this is crazy, but so are there little Teflon shims that are used instead of brass bushings. So I tried just wrapping some pipe thread tape, which is really thin stuff, around the shaft on this side, and you know, jammed it in, and lo and behold, it's a nice tight fit now, and it moves smoothly. So I think this is going to work great. And not only is it nice and snug, no play, but closed, there's a nice seal, no daylight showing through at all. This is going to work out great. Okay, time to start putting the float bowl assembly back together. We'll start with the accelerator pump discharge tube, and for that we need the large stainless ball here. Get it out of the package without losing it, that'd be nice. That goes right in here. That's the check valve, basically. And on top of the ball goes the spring. Got a new spring here. And we got a little keeper. Still have the old one, but may as well use a new one. It came with the kit here. And this, the inside goes inside the spring, and then we just had a little notch right there. We're going to tap that in.
nice and flush. And there's our check valve assembly in the accelerator pump discharge tube. All right, let's reassemble the accelerator pump. First goes the lower spring. Get that nice and centered. Plunger sits on top of that. And put a little bit of lube around the outside so it's not dry going down. We put the upper spring over the top. And we compress down in our little okay, in the rebuild kit, we get these little keepers. Keeper slides right in that notch there. And then to retain it, we close the ends like that. And now it's locked in there and it can't come off. Now we have to reestablish our little connecting rod here between one, and this comes down. There, and the little keeper. Like that. All done. Okay, so now we're going to put a little fuel in the float bowl and see if the accelerator pump works okay. Okay, we're above that little notch that fills it. See it popping out here? That'll be covered by the air horn gasket. So you hold that down. Oop. I think you can see it coming out of that little hole there. See that? So accelerator pump is working fine. Okay, time to put the air horn on top of the float chamber. I'll keep things lined up for a second. All right. Yeah, the last step before it goes on the car or the truck is the fuel inlet. And a little spring goes in here, and then the fuel comes in the center here, goes in the center there, and has all that space to come out of the Brown's filter. So the filter goes in like that. A little sealing washer here. Must look like aluminum with a coating on both sides. And that just goes like that. And just screw it down. Just snug it up a little bit here, and we'll tighten it once it's on the truck itself. Carb is mounted, snugged up, the fuel inlet fitting, hooked up the fuel line, vacuum tube, throttle linkage, choke cable. I think we're good to go. Let's see what happens. Choke's about half on, fried right up. Looks like we're doing all right. So we had a little leaking around this new fitting with the thin aluminum washer coated, and I'm going to try this nylon one. I think that's going to work better. Now it's all warmed up. Took it out for a ride. No dead spots. Smooth acceleration. Idle's okay. And it's perfectly dry. No leaks anywhere. It's nylon gasket worked great. And there's no leaks between the air horn and the float bowl. All good. By the way, if you like this air cleaner setup, check out my video on how I did that. I sure like it. Looks real good.